We're going to first listen to a piece of music that Jeanette's chosen that I'm going to massacre the title of, so I'm going to let you see it. Jealous of the Angels. Thank you.
Didn't know today would be our last, that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. Place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I'd fall. In a world where heroes come and go, well, God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, God must need another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
That ringing phone reminds me to suggest that you put your phone on silent. I need that reminder daily, and then I need to remember to turn it on again. But my name is Richard Paul. I'm very honored to have been asked by Jeanette and the family to be part of this service. I'm not here in any other capacity than just a facilitator of the service. We're here to share in the loss of Hermann, more importantly to celebrate his life, and in closing to honor the best parts of his life. And then there's an opportunity to visit and continue to share memories of Hermann afterwards. But I will stress again, in the middle of our time here, there's an opportunity, an open microphone to come up and share a memory or pay tribute. We have several prepared remarks, but I'll open it up to you. You can think ahead to what you treasure most about your knowledge of Hermann in your life. So, of course, the cause of us gathering here is Hermann's death on October 27th of 2024. And that was 8 days after having several stints, when he went in for one and got a package deal. He got a whole bunch of stints, 3 stints, and 8 days later he died in his home, which, if you haven't been there, the view out over the waterway there is just second to none. And he probably got a wish he maybe never made, that he could stay home. He'd stated that he'd like to stay in his home till the end, and he got that. So there is little silver linings sometimes if you look, and you don't have to look too hard. But just the same, his death is what in legal terms they call sudden unexpected, which means that it immediately becomes a coroner's case and an OPP case. But once they determined that it was pretty well natural causes contributing to his death, the police pulled away, and I pulled in to help bring Hermann's body to the funeral home. Even as I drove down the laneway to his house, I said to Jeanette, when I got to the fork in the road, I knew that I had to go to the right because I'd been told to, but also because the road just became immaculate in the clearing on both sides of the road, wider by 3 times than the road, and the gentle, perfect, groomed, graded hump in the middle of that driveway. And I thought, boy, that's European, that's Austrian workmanship right there. He would have been coaching whoever was doing that with what he wanted. And I think that that's a good example of a phrase that I heard earlier today, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think Hermann lived that life. I talked to people who worked as young teenagers today, working with them in the camp, and him and Lee's, and the standards that they set for hospitality, and for if you're going to do it right the first time. You're not finished till the job's cleaned up, and that sort of thing. And those lessons have stayed with them for the rest of their lives. But still, there's this shock of his death, and there's an element of trauma in a sudden, unexpected death. And it's often not noticed till years later when people look back and realize the trauma has kind of lifted. But it's almost as if you need to deal with your trauma before you can deal with your grief. And coincidentally, the best way to deal with both of them is to talk, to retell your story until you've got it off your chest. And to me, that's a good measure of a good friend who can sit and listen to that same story over and over again. That's how you separate your friends from the casual acquaintances. People who say, well, don't you think you've gone on about this just a little too much? And don't you think he'd want you to move along? And those aren't helpful things to say. It's more helpful to listen than to speak. And I'm making a bad example of that up here. But the real reason that we're here is Hermann's birth on August 15th, 1938. 2 years before we think of the World War II beginning. And really, his life was like a novel, right from birth. All the events of his life that I've been exposed to just in the short time since his death. And that's the main reason we're here, is to celebrate that he was part of this community. He really adopted this community, and this community really adopted him and Lise and little Jeanette and family. So this is an opportunity for us to begin to practice talking about Hermann, saying his name out loud, saying what he meant to us. So may I invite Jeanette to break the ice and show us how to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was gonna be first.
Like
That's a surprise, yeah. I didn't know it was gonna be first, so I thought maybe there'd be some others. Feedback? Yeah, so we'll see if I can do this. And I wasn't sure if I'd be able to actually get up here today. So I wasn't sure I'd be able to get up here today. So the little booklet that you got that's supposed to be a memorial card is a novel. My kids said to me, it's too long. But I felt I had to, just because there's so much in his life that he was exposed to and did and went through. So I'm going to kind of touch on a couple of other elements of a little bit more when I was younger, and my dad was always very, very patient. Very seldom did he ever lose his patience with me or with anybody, really. Can everybody hear me okay? No? Can't hear me? Better? Okay. Thank you, Trish. So, most of you that knew my dad knew that he had a slightly dry sense of humor. You weren't always sure if he was joking or if he was serious until you'd see the little glimmer in his eye and just a little wee bit of a smile at the corner. Even his jokes were like that, so sometimes people would be a little bit unsure if it was a joke or if he was serious with them. But anyway, most of you know already that I'm an only child, so I have no siblings to fight with, and it comes with a lot of things that most people maybe don't know, or they know but they don't really understand, because you don't have those siblings. Comes with a lot of different responsibilities that you don't always know if you have siblings. But it also comes with a lot of wonderful things that come with being an only child, because right from the moment that I came into this world, I knew that I was their everything. And they made that known in everything. I never had to fight for my parents' attention. Like a lot of people who have siblings, you're fighting for your parents' attention. I didn't have that. And many might say that I was even spoiled. Maybe spoiled rotten, as Eric sometimes says. I guess he knows because he has to put up with me. But frankly, I was spoiled by all their time and their attention. That's mostly what I was spoiled by. And my mom and dad were my playmates, and some of you might not believe it, but my dad would humor me when I was little, and he would wear the scarves and the hats and all the stuff that I would make him play house or tea with me, and he quite willingly did it. But when it came to taking pictures of it, he really wasn't too keen on that. But we did have one, and I tried to find it. I don't know if it made it in the slideshow or not. It may not have made it in there. Anyway, at first appearances, he was very stern because of the being Austrian, and even his German accent didn't help when people talked to him. My friends, when they would come to the house at first, weren't too sure how to take him, and I didn't even realize he had an accent until I started going to school here, because I never was in one school long enough to really have a lot of friends. So once we moved here, and my girlfriends would start coming to the house, and they'd be like, or they'd see him at school and they'd say, "Why does your dad talk so funny?" And I'd be like, "What? What do you mean?" So I didn't even know that he had an accent. I'm like, "A what?" Oh, yeah, they're like, "Yeah, he talks funny. He says his W's are weird." I'm like, I don't know. I didn't notice. So anyway, I used to love pushing my dad's buttons. So for those of you who might have known me when we were young, I like to push, 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 and my mom would always say, "Stop, you're gonna get your dad upset." But I always liked to push just until I could just see it, and then I'd pull back. But anyway. I only remember being spanked once. I was told it happened twice, but I only remember once. And I was probably about 3 years old, and my dad spanked me. And we were in a store, but I guess I was misbehaving. So being Austrian, there was no misbehaving when you were out in public. You behaved, and I guess I didn't, so he spanked me. But there was a lady that was shopping, and she was standing fairly close to where he was when he spanked me. And she came over to him and she said, you cannot spank your daughter. And he said, lady, he looked at her, he said, lady, if you don't mind your own business, I'm going to put you over my knee and spank you too. Needless to say, she walked away. When I was 7, we had moved to a house inside of Huntsville. They had sold the tent and trailer park at that point, and we moved to Huntsville. And I had to walk, and it was a fairly long walk. Well, at least it seemed that way when I was younger. But there were always these 3 girls that would be picking on me. So when I would be walking home, they would pick on me. And the one day they really got a little aggressive, and they pushed me around a fair bit, and they rubbed my face in the snow, and I come home and my face was all scraped up. And I was crying, and I come in the door, and I said to my dad, I told him what happened, and he looked at me and he said, and what did you do back? And I said, nothing. He said, well, then don't come home crying. He said, until you do something about it. So most other parents would go running to the school, run to the other parents, but not my dad. He said, no, you need to learn to stand up for yourself. So here I am, standing up for myself today. I'm going to prove to him that I can do this, and yeah, so I want to thank everybody today for coming out and showing your support to me, to my dad, to my family, and we really, really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have everybody here. I wrote notes, but I'm not even going by them really, so this is not going to flow. But when I was 12 years old, for those of you that don't know, I grew up at Northern Lights Resort. So we had a laneway that was about a half a kilometer long. And when I was 12, I think my mom and dad got tired of driving me in and out of the laneway, so they bought me a car. So I got a car at 12 years old, which is why Eric says I was very spoiled. But really, it wasn't for that reason. It was because they didn't want to have to drive me out the road and come back and pick me up at 3:30. I'm sure that was why I got the car. And it was standard, and my dad taught me how to drive. I'm not sure if Brian is still here. Is Brian Spry here, or did he leave? Might have left. Oh, in the back? Oh no, he left. He left, okay. So I was hoping he was going to be here, because that poor little Toyota Corolla afterwards, Brian used to drive it, and that poor little thing didn't know whatever happened to it after that. Anyway, when I was 16, my dad and mom gave me a car again, like a used car again, not new, never new cars. But the Matador saw a lot of other people after me, but again, maybe some would say I was spoiled. But the real reason, I'm sure, that my dad got me a car was because I started going to dances, and he didn't want me getting a ride home with any boys. So by giving me the car, he knew I wasn't getting a ride home with boys. So that's the real reason. Again, making me independent, to not rely on anybody, to have to get home on time for my curfew, that if I didn't make it home, I would lose 10 minutes for every minute I was late. So you figure if you're 10 minutes late, you are losing a lot of time on your next time going out. So very seldom was I late, but that poor Matador sure knew how to drive the West Road very quickly to Northern Lights Resort. And it wasn't until later on in years that I had found out that there were a few boys that said they would have asked me out, but they said, quite frankly, they were scared of my dad. So that's why they didn't ask me out. I'm like, really? Okay. So I couldn't imagine why, because to me, he was always sweet and kind. But the few that were brave enough to come to dinner, were all asked the same question by my dad sitting at the table. And he would look at them, and then he would say, "Do you know how long it takes a body to decompose in a swamp?" And they'd all kind of look at him like, "Huh?" And he'd say, without smiling, no smile, just a little twinkle, and he'd say, "Well, mistreat my daughter and we'll find out." For some reason, there weren't a lot of second dates. I was lucky. My dad was my fiercest protector, my biggest fan, my rock, and I just feel very blessed to have had him in my life for this long. Some aren't as blessed. I had a wonderful relationship with my dad, as most of you know. And I'm so glad that everybody has come out to help celebrate his life with me. It means a lot, and he would be very happy. So thank you. And after everything is over, please stay, eat, eat, eat. The bar will open up again after, once we're done. And please stay and party with us, because I wasn't allowed to have a funeral. So this is as close as we could get to honoring him with a party in his name. So thank you.
Well, I made you go first so that you get it over. So, Melody, are you here, Melody Nichols? Yes. Friend of the family, Melody would like to share a few remarks.
Hi, I'm Melody, and I was a good friend of Herman's. I would like to say a few words in his honor. My friend Hermann. He was a wonderful father and an amazing friend. If you needed his help, he was always there to lend a hand. A hard worker, he lived his life his way and made no excuses. He was a man of firm opinions and stood by them. He was also stubborn. Yeah, Hermann was stubborn, and no one could change his mind once it was made up. He was warm and welcoming, and always a smile and a hug when you dropped by to visit. Cards happens once a week. Each of us brings a dish, and the host provides the meat. Hermann was our appetizer man, and he brought one every week, and they were delicious. When it was his turn to host, one of our favorites was when he made a variety of schnitzels. He made pork and venison, and there was enough to feed an army. After dinner was cards. That's what Hermann waited for. He loved to win. Oh yeah, his main incentive was to win. He liked a quiet table so he could concentrate. Well, that didn't work out so well. Our girl chatter irritated him to no end. But when that sly smile appeared and the twinkle in his eye shone brighter, you knew you were in trouble. Sure enough, his turn would come, and he would say with glee, "Pay the man." Our scores would go up, and Hermann would gloat. Usually he won the game, and that made his week. Now on card nights, there are 3 empty chairs, which we never forget, were part of us and are sorely missed. Hermann, rest in peace. Your legacy lives on in your daughter and your grandsons, and they will carry it on. God bless you, my friend. I would like to read this poem for you. We are here to celebrate your life and the measure of its worth, and every single life you touched while you were on this earth. We wish to pay our last respects, that's why we are all here, to thank you for your friendship and all the memories we hold dear. It's been a privilege to have known you. We were family, not just friends, and we will carry you in spirit until we meet again.
Thank you, Melody. So I've been given three or four different tributes that have been sent from people from away. So this first one begins, Dear Bereaved. When we have talked here in Austria about Canada with a K, we didn't only speak of the stunning nature or the wonderful hunting adventures. No, primarily we have talked about the people and the friendships that have evolved there. One friend was our Hermann and his family from the first moment on Canadian Vorarlberg. Met Lower Austria. I'm sorry, I'm not very helpful with that reference. His friendliness, his humor, his helpfulness, without him we would have not felt as comfortable about being in Loring as we did right from the start. Because of Hermann, many hunting buddies were able to receive bear huntinghood. Together we spent countless jovial evenings with stories about past hunting adventures or about the recent successful hunt. And several times Hermann and Lisa invited us for steak dinner. My wife likes her steak well done. Hermann meant well when he answered her request with, I don't do that. He was certain that a steak is not to be well done. These evenings could well take on until the crack of dawn. We will treasure many marvelous, unforgettable adventures with you. Thank you for your great friendship. We will never forget you. Unfortunately, we cannot be with you today, but our thoughts are with you, the family of Pepe and Bernadette Weigel. And he added a little poem. Goodbye, my hunting pal, and a last firm good luck hunting. And as a hunter I once left, lay down in the forest in the deepest den. There I will rest without fear and worry until I see the last day. Hallo, my resurrection day is here. Let's go hunting, hunting in the deep green forest. Therefore, good luck hunting for me and my friends. The hunt starts from the beginning. And that's from Pepe and Bernadette Weigel and family. So I've invited you earlier to think ahead about this part of our time together. If you might have something you'd like to introduce into the conversation about Hermann, this is the time to do it. And maybe introduce yourself as you do that. And I'm just going to get out of the way and let you come on down.
This seemed like a little easier task when I was sitting over there. But I know pretty much everybody here, but for anybody that doesn't know me, until a few years ago, I had the privilege of calling Hermann my father-in-law, and he was a pretty good guy. You can see that with the number of people that are here to honor him today, and the family really appreciates it. So I just want to pass on a few memories that I have of Hermann. For the one part, what was mentioned from Pepe and Bernadette, the Canadian Vorarlberg. Vorarlberg is a province where Hermann was born. So. That's kind of what that was about. So I want to talk about Hermann a little bit, and he was a great guy. I don't know anybody that knew him that didn't really like him. Jeanette talked about stubborn. I always had a different word for it. I called it determination. He was a guy who came to Canada not speaking a word of our language, and he would learn things by, he'd point at something on a menu in a restaurant, and if he liked it, he'd write that down, right? So he could order it again. If he didn't like it, well, he'd write that down too, because he wouldn't want to order that again, right? So he went when he came here, he had a trade as a wrought iron worker, so that's the twisty metal. I'm not a trade guy, I'm a white collar guy, or I was. But anyways, he worked with metal, bending it into shapes and making decorative things and whatever they do with wrought iron. But he soon realized that in Canada, that job doesn't pay as well as it does in Europe. He talked to his boss about it, and the guy said, well, that's kind of what wrought iron workers make here. And he wasn't cool with that at all, so he switched careers and ended up meeting some guys, I guess, and getting into road construction. So it was much more lucrative, and he did very well in that. Every time he was on a job, he would watch and see what the other jobs entailed. And when the boss said, well, I need someone to do this because someone didn't show up today or whatever, he'd say, well, I can do that. And he would do that. You know, he had the ability to pick up and continue on and get what needs to be done. That was a big thing, what he always said. You got to do what needs to be done to get through the day. So the determination showed in so many ways. He had some health issues. You know, the one time he had to have radiation because he had some cancer, and the radiation affects people different ways. Sometimes it induces fatigue. So he would say, well, when I get tired, I just go downstairs and walk a couple of kilometers on the treadmill. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. You get tired from radiation, so you go downstairs and you exercise. Come on. I talked with him. I don't remember him smoking, but I understand that he was a multi-pack-a-day smoker. And he told me about how the one day at the resort, he was walking up the hill and he got winded, and he said, basically, the hell with this, and he threw them away. This was after a couple of unsuccessful attempts at quitting. So I said, okay, so you quit smoking, and it's been a number of years. When did the cravings stop? And he said, well, they never stop. He said, and they're strong. He said, but I'm stronger. So again, a word, a memory of his determination. Jeanette touched on the thing about I guess it was in Pepe's poem or write-up about the steak. So I have a memory, the first time I ever went to their house for dinner. They were having steak, and I thought, great. And he said, well, how do you like your steak? So at my house, if a steak was cooked gray all the way through, well, it was almost done. So I said to him, I said, well, I'd like my steak really well done, please. And he said, it's a pretty nice piece of meat. He said, if you want to wreck it, you stand here and do it. So I asked how they ate it, and he said, well, we like it with a little bit of, color in the middle. So I tried that, and, eventually through the years, I switched and I eat my steak rare now. And I can tell you, I never ever had a steak prepared like he could. He was the master, and I try, but I can't cook him like he could. He had a memory that was just for details. He recalled everything. We took a couple of trips through the years out to Kenora to visit Aunt Judy and Uncle Lawrence, and we'd be driving along Highway 17, and give me a sec. We would drive through big rock cuts where they had carved out sections of the Canadian Shield and hauled it away and made a road that people could drive on. And he could remember what year they were there, approximately how many tons of rock might have been moved. It just, and then after telling you that, there'd be a story about that particular job, and it went on and on like this. It was fascinating to travel with him. As a guy, I don't think you'd find a more fair man anywhere. Great character, Daniel and Jordan. I'm sorry for your loss, but you have such a good example of a guy. I wasn't going to do this. Anyway, I'll wrap it up for now, and somebody else can have a turn. But thanks everybody for coming. I know they really appreciate it.
I'm just here to adjust the mic down if you need it. I'll turn my back. Hearing none. I have a couple more pre-written remarks to share with you. I always feel bad when people say to me, "Oh, I was just going to get up and say something when you went on." Never know when that's a good time. This was sent to Jeanette from one of their past customers. Her parents started coming to Northern Lights Resort in 1981. And did you say that was their honeymoon?
I thought it's not. I
Oh.
thought it was, but she confirmed it wasn't. It was around the second year of marriage that her parents started coming to the resort.
And then the person who wrote these remarks, her first year here was in 1985 as a baby. Memories. When you've had someone in your life that has left you with everlasting memories, one day those memories become a treasure when that person becomes a memory. And that was written by Laura Coling. Bears, Pac-Man, The Dump, Velcro shoes, and rum cake. These are just a few things that come to mind when I think of Hermann. You could always count on hearing the truck or ATV during dinner as you would come around and pick up all the garbage. I loved giving you the cans of grease that my mom would collect. Those were treats for you to give to the bears. Hoping you let me help you do garbage because you would go out of your way to take the garbage to the dump that night just for me to see the bears. At least once a week we would have our annual game night, and you always played Pac-Man. Waiting for you to lose so it would be my turn took forever. But today I'm the best Pac-Man player out of my entire family and my friends' groups. I still play almost daily on my phone. You could always count on Hermann to have his Velcro strapped shoes on as he walked up and down the steps around camp and to the boathouse. He never had time for laces. One thing you could always guarantee, no matter what age I was, you would always outwalk me. You would always make time to stop and give Miss Lady a pat on the head as you flew by her on to the next project. Hardworking is putting it lightly when it came to you. Oh, what a treat it was when we would be there for your birthday. Homemade rum cake, homemade whipped cream with cherries, something I had never had before, which always led me to ask my parents, when were we booking a reservation for next year? Are we going to be there for Hermann's birthday? I could go on and on with the memories, big and small, but now contribute to my stories that I cherish and will forever. Hermann was a man of his word, hard-working, dedicated. He was such a proud grandpa and one heck of a dad. He was a helping hand and a teacher, a loyal husband and friend. Now that you have earned your wings and been reunited with your loved ones that went before you, my wish for you is that you will continue to hold and cherish the memories you imprinted on everyone's heart, and that you watch over us and guide us, but most of all that you fly high, my angel, and forever rest in paradise until we can all meet again. See you on the next trip. And that's from Laura Coling. So I am pausing just in case someone's got the inspiration to come up. Anyone thought of something they'd like to share? Going once. So Hermann, Our Ultimate Austrian-Born Friend by Owen and Lorna Davis. Hermann was the ultimate gentleman and always our ultimate friend. Hermann was the ultimate family man, so proud of his only daughter, Jeanette, and grandsons, Daniel and Jordan. We lost our dear Lise, Hermann's loving wife, August 26, 2013. Hermann was so proud of his family's accomplishments and shared a close, ultimate bond. Hermann was the ultimate entrepreneur with a broad knowledge and love for doing many ventures, from construction, road building, dynamite blasting, to resort tourism. To bear management outfitting, Hermann ultimately wore many hats. Hermann made many friends and contacts in his ultimate journey through life of 86 years. Hermann lived life to the fullest. Hermann was the ultimate lifelong learner. Hermann left Austria on his own at a young age, crossing the European countries and the Atlantic on his own ultimate determination. Hermann left his war-torn country to pursue a new life in Canada. He learned English through TV animated cartoons and shows. Hermann became an ultimate chef from Lise and Joseph Pepe Weigel's tutoring, making excellent schnitzel, rice and soups, and fine cuisine. Hermann was the ultimate barbecue master, loving his meats rare. Hermann hated cooking meats to death for some of us, but he ultimately did. Hermann disliked greens and salads, as he wasn't a rabbit. Hermann ate healthily. Hermann knew our likes and dislikes and always accommodated use. Being the ultimate host, Hermann always welcomed Owen and me into his lovely home, no matter when we stopped in. The ultimate host. Hermann became an ultimate sommelier, making his own wine. Owen built Hermann a wine cellar to finesse his winemaking storage. We coined the nickname Hermanator for Hermann, as he was our ultimate card shark with an amazing memory and a love of winning in our card and dinner parties. We started cards and gourmet dinners with Alan and Melody Nichols, Hermann and Lise, and for our dining and social pleasure weekly. Later, in 2009, Jim and Donna Bockenfuso.
I beg your pardon.
Thank you. Excuse me. And Anne and Al Short from St. Catharines joined, and Brian and Ann Randa formed our weekly card group of 12. Hermann called a spade in life, and Hermann was highly principled. Hermann was the ultimate reader of books, newspapers, comics, and loved the nuggets. Today in history. Hermann immediately absorbed and retained the dates and events. Hermann's ultimate memory was always intact, with a brain like a sponge. Hermann had the ultimate knowledge and loved to talk about his home country, Austria, and to tell many jokes and recite dates and facts. Owen and I became friends with Hermann's Austrian friends. Hermann was the ultimate facilitator and communicator and interpreter. We shared many ultimate experiences. Most recently, Austrian Heinz played the accordion, and Hermann even danced a jig at our home with Carolyn and Austrian friends. Ultimately, we and our friends are missing Hermann. We hold many memories close in our hearts and feel Hermann's presence around us. Sincerely and with love, Owen and Lorna Davis. And finally, for now, we have this piece written by Judy and Lawrence Lunan from Kenora, and they're here somewhere, eh? Yeah. You wanted me to read this, right? Or did you want to read it? No. Yes, I read it. Well, folks, here we go again, only 11 years later. This time we are meeting to honor Hermann and to deal with our sorrow and grief in our own ways. Ours is not to ask why, but to come together to celebrate Hermann and share memories of wonderful times spent with them. Hermann was a quiet, gentle man, soft-spoken, and only had limited amounts to say, but only at certain times. He always had an opinion, believed in everything he said, and most definitely always followed through with his promises. never ever letting anyone down. He was first to offer a helping hand to anyone needing it. He was a jack of all trades. There wasn't much that he couldn't do. Even though he was small in stature, he was often referred to as a mountain of a man. He was stronger than an ox and could complete anything he put his mind to. Hermann was a very hardworking man, and he loved the land and respected it. He was an avid hunter and guide. To Jeanette, Daniel, Jordan, and families, I'm sure your dad and Opa would wish for you to go on with your lives, continue with all your family traditions made throughout the years. Be happy, no matter what, and most of all, never worry twice. To Carolyn, our sincere thanks for you bringing that beacon of light to Hermann when he needed it most, and bringing laughter and happiness back into his life. We've come to love you and are grateful to have you as part of the family. Hermann, you touched so many lives, and your kind, caring, peaceful nature will be missed by our entire family here and abroad. Having you as a brother-in-law has been one of the greatest gifts that life has given us. His mind is at ease and his soul is at rest. We wish you Godspeed and rest in perfect peace. And that's from Judy and Lawrence. And now a piece of music from a good friend of Jeanette's, Christopher Moore. You bet.
I'm just going to move things so you can actually see that Christopher is back here.
They've seen me. Check, check, check. Life is a battlefield, and it'll drag you right through hell. Bites like a rattlesnake, the kind you just don't see on the trail. And I miss my father every day, the kind of pain I pray won't fade away. Guide me down the road. Grief is only love. It's got no place to go. From my great granddad in the ground to all the ghosts in my hometown, yeah, they're the ones that find me down the road. Grief is only love. Got no place to go. Grief is only love. The world is a cannonball. Deal with the feelings you can't hide. We stumble and we fall. When we we need to leave them all inside. And I don't feel like crying, but I just keep on crying for the ones above to find me down the road. Grief is only love, it's got no place to go. From my great granddad in the ground to all the ghosts in my hometown, yeah, they're the ones to guide me down the road. Grief is only love, it's got no place to go. So hang on to the hurting and let it grab a hold, 'cause the only thing's for certain is it's out of my control. And grief is only love, it's got no place to go. Grief is only love, it's got no place to go. Grief is only love, it's got no place to go. Grief is only love, it's got no place to go. Grief is only love.
So we're winding down. So we're winding down our organized formal time here. We've begun by sharing the loss of Hermann and briefly celebrating his life, and I'd just like to offer these couple of observations for your consideration of how we can continue forward in our lives, not just this afternoon, but the rest of our lives, and honor the spirit of Hermann. And I would suggest that from the demonstration that Hermann has made, a love of nature that he held as a way to honor his spirit. If you are feeling down or just need to connect with the divine in nature, going out into the bush is something he enjoyed, and you would honor him by enjoying it as well. His patience is an interesting characteristic, and I think that the world needs more patience. And I wouldn't have thought that Austrian people would be patient, but the fact that Jeanette saw it day after day, it must be true.
Very much.
I like his sense of humor. I like that it's just a twinkle in the corner of his eye, not giving it away about the decomposing bodies in the swamp. I like, and I suggest to you, we can find some inspiration from Hermann's strength of determination. I once heard years ago that what's wrong with the world isn't that people don't make commitments, it's that they don't make a commitment to their commitments. And it seems to me that in everything Hermann did, he made a commitment to see it through. And also, and you'll see again in the pictures, if you're staying for the slideshow, you'll see that he always looked for a plan B. And I encourage you to keep one of those up your sleeves as well. But more than anything, let's start practicing our new relationship in memory, love, and spirit with Hermann today by continuing to share what we consider among his highest qualities and the things we're going to remember the most. And let's continue to break bread together and raise a glass, perhaps as an example, I think, in the video that's available. And I'll just give you a couple of announcements to follow if you don't know. Men's and women's washrooms. Exits are over the wings. Roxy's about to throw open the bar door, and I'm just killing time till Lena's got the button ready to push play. So, how do you feel? Are you through close? I'll just accept that.
Take all the magic out of it.
Did you do an intro for it? On this part?
Oh, it's too late.
No, too late? Okay.
This just happened this fall.
Yeah, September 7th.
Der Saufsteher wie Spül. Das ist so leer. Wer hat gesagt, der kommt? Das hast du gut gemacht, du bist überhaupt nicht ausgelacht. Das hast du gut gemacht, du bist überhaupt nicht ausgelacht. Du bist der Beste.
My camera skills weren't so good, so
Maybe you were drinking some beer too.
maybe. That's it.
And
That was it.
and immediately after that toast to Hermann, someone broke out an accordion. And so will that immediately follow on its own, or do we?
That was it.
Oh, pardon me, that was it. I don't know why I'm talking into the mic. But, so ladies and gentlemen, please stand up, and if you have time, raise a glass in memory of Hermann. Thank you on behalf of Jeanette for coming. And again, I'm still talking to her.